Okay, so I welcome you all. So let's take the blessing from our deities. Jai Jagannath Baldev Subhadramaya ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai, Vaman Dev ki jai, Vashuram Bhagwan ki jai, Guru Parampara ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki jai. So before we begin, let's do the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnana Janachalakaya Chakshurulminam Tammena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschata Desha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so we are in chapter number 2, contents of Gita summarized. And today we are in shlok number 47 of chapter 2. So far, Krishna is saying, Arjuna, we are soul, not the body. And then Arjuna says, okay, if we are soul, not the body, then why should I fight? Why should I fight and kill my relatives and friends? Better I will go to forest and stay happily there. Why should I take the sins by doing murder of all my friends and relatives? So today we are going to see one of the very famous sloka quoted everywhere in Bhagavad Gita. So in this shloka, Krishna says, Arjuna, how to work in this world without getting bound to the results. That means without getting entangled to our results. So the shloka goes like this. Karmannevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phale hetu bhu ma te sangastu karmani. Let's see the translation. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the result of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. So let's try to understand this in detail. So every work we do have some result and which bind us. Krishna is telling us how one should work in Buddhi Yoga so that we don't get actually entangled to this results. So if you see, the first line is Karmane Vadikaraste. What it means? One is having full right to perform his duty. So people don't care about the work. They only care about, or they are only interested in getting the results. So try to understand this with the example. If you see student, what they do, whether they study or not, they expect very good results. Correct? So if you see so much of expectations, and because of this, students often do suicide. They often commit suicide. So people in general think that they have right only to the results without putting any effort. But if you see, Bhagavad Gita talks completely the opposite thing. Just a second.
Recording in progress.
So Bhagavad Gita talks about complete the opposite. It says you have right only to work, not to the result. And don't get attached to the result. When Krishna already told us we are soul, not body, then why we have expectation for temporary result? We should always seek for the permanent result. So how can we work so that we get permanent result? So for that, we have to raise ourselves in the spiritual level. That can only be done if we are pure. Our soul, or we can say our heart is pure, then only we can get into that spiritual level. So that means if you see, I am covered with lot of impurity. So somehow I have to clean those impurity to become pure and get into the level of spiritual level. So most of the time we do work to get good result, and that result motivate us, isn't it? You take Mataji's prepare prasadam. If we don't give a good feedback, she will not get motivated, right? So similarly, when students study, if we don't encourage them, they will lose the energy. So we have to keep on motivating. But here it is saying ki don't care about the result. So it is not wrong to have positive results or expecting a result. But the idea over here is to do our duty, not just for the result. So that is very important. Just don't expect, do the work, but not only for the result. Because if we do our duty, we'll get purification. Not only purification, we'll also get the knowledge. So we have to concentrate more doing our prescribed duty. So if you see any work, a person do a work in 3 levels. So what are these 3 levels? So level 1, if you see, I do the work to get result. So this is level 1, which most of the people do. So they do the work only to get the result. And if you see level 2 kind of people, they do work because it's their duty. That is their intention. It is my duty. That is why I am doing my work. And then third level of work, I do the work because Krishna will get pleased. Krishna will get happy. And this is the actually highest level of work. Okay. So there is a lot of insecurity and anxiety if we focus only for the result. And if we don't work for the result, the anxiety automatically will go away. So we have to keep this point in mind. If you only expect for the result and do your work, you will always have insecurity, you will always have anxiety. So it is better, instead of, for the expectation of the result, you just do your work, and that way your anxiety also will go away. Okay. So when the work is done in this level 3 that we discussed, that is nothing but the karma yoga. And this karma yoga will give us the purification of what we were talking about. So in this shloka, line number 3, ma phalam hetu bhu. That means do not think that you are the cause of the result of the activity. So Krishna says, you are not only the cause of the result. You are not only the cause of the result. There are other external factors that is affecting your results. See, we'll try to understand this uh, by seeing one example. So what happens nowadays, we see a lot of students commit suicide. They could not able to pass the exam and they do suicide because they think they are only the cause of that result. But in fact, if you see, there are many other external factors. So whatever we do, it is not necessary we are only responsible of that work. You have to understand this. There are many external factors which will affect the result. And then in this slogan, line number 4, Mate Sangostu Akarmani. That means never be attached to not doing your duty. So take an example, if you work for someone and he says, I will not give you salary, then what will happen? Then you will think, why should I work if I don't get salary? But Krishna is saying here, do not be attached to inaction. So just make a note of this. Krishna is saying, do not be attached to inaction. So why Krishna is saying like this? Actually, it is the action which purify us. And how action purify us? When the action is done for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is the main crux. If the action is done for the pleasure of Krishna. Okay. So if we are in inaction, not doing anything, that means we are not utilizing the facility that is given to us by Krishna. So let's say ki Arjuna is not ready to fight here. If he just leave everything, he leave the battlefield, that is inaction, right? So that means he is not utilizing the facilities that is given by Krishna. Similarly, if we don't do work in our life, that means we are not utilizing the facility that Krishna has given to us. So another thing is, it is always not possible to think all the time about Krishna. Why? Because due to a lot of distraction in our life, right? We cannot 24 hours, we cannot think about Krishna and do the chanting. So what should we do? So when we do our duties for Krishna, it's the service that purifies our soul, or you can say our heart. Because we have a tendency to think that we are the controller, we are the proprietor, isn't it? So that is the reason the purification of heart is very important. So if you see, if someone is not studied Bhagavad Gita, then what he thinks? He thinks my whole purpose of life is to just enjoy this whole world. And he thinks I am only the body, I am the controller, I am the proprietor, isn't it? That is why we have to always do the work to please Krishna. That way all this things will get clarified and will get purity. So Prabhupada in this purport describes that there are 3 considerations here about work. First one is prescribed duty, which is also called as karma. Prescribed duties are activities. Prescribed duties are activities in terms of one's acquired mode based on the mode of nature, material nature. Right? We have earlier studied that Rajoguna, Tamoguna, and the second level of work is also called as capricious work, which is nothing but vikarma. So capricious work means action without the sanction of authority. So who is the authority? Krishna is the authority. So without his sanction of the authority, if we do some work, that is vikarma. And the third level is inaction, which is also called as akarma. So inaction means not performing one's prescribed duty. So if you see here, Lord advised Arjuna not to be inactive, but he performed his prescribed duty without being attached to result. So one who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. And thus, he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such actions. So Arjuna was therefore advised by Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. This non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. See, whatever we'll do, definitely there will be some sin. And to reduce that sin, we have to work for pleasing Krishna. Whatever we do, even normal activity we are doing, we have to do in an intention that we are pleasing Krishna. So such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause of bondage. Whether you do good thing, you do bad thing, it will actually be a cause of bondage. Also, inaction is sinful. That we have to remember. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna because he was Kshatriya. So that was today's shloka. So with that, we'll stop here. If you have some questions or additions, so you can just unmute and ask.